Yeah.
How are
Ricardo,
you?
fine.
Good.
What are we doing here today?
I don't know, but I see lots of people here, which is amazing, isn't it?
Yes, because we're live and you're here and we're talking to you and we're talking to hundreds and hundreds of people all over Mexico. And actually, we're going abroad Mexico.
We are, right? And isn't it exciting that after so many years, well, 2 or 3,
Okay.
but it could be like so many.
Almost half a century.
It felt like so many years, right? Not being able to have this face-to-face contact, that's amazing, isn't it?
No,
Thank you
it
very
is.
much. Thank you very much for being here. I'm Ricardo Morales, and
Rosalia Valero.
so welcome. Welcome to our teachers celebration.
Exactly, our Cambridge Teachers Celebration 2023. And you know why we're so happy today? Because we're here with you, colleagues, right? And we're talking to colleagues and future colleagues as well, which is very exciting. All those people who also want to join the profession.
Absolutely. And speaking of join the profession and teachers out there, do you remember the very first time you taught?
Yes.
A language or a
My hair
class?
was a different color then, I have to say. And whenever I think about the first time, I remember, believe it or not, I was very young. And one of my first students said, I cannot believe that you're a teacher because you're very young. That's not something that happens to me nowadays, I have to say.
It happens to me now.
It happens to you now.
That's what I tell people, right? As a
Okay.
student.
Right, but I think, and we've talked about being a teacher, an ELT practitioner, and we've said, hasn't it happened to you that there's always like favorite groups, classrooms that you remember?
A favorite, and also
The class from hell, right?
that group of students that you say, but in the end you love them, don't you? Right?
We love everyone.
Love comes in different ways, right? So that's why we have now, but we all have our favorite students, our favorite groups, our favorite teachers, and that's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here, and start thinking about those favorite groups and maybe even that.
Yes.
Right?
If we have time at the end of today's event, we will ask you about those classes from hell, but also about the good ones.
Especially about the good ones. And remember, we've all been there. So we are educators. We can be learners too. All right. So remember, when you say to your learners, I will ask somebody, right? And you will have to answer the question. Remember when you do that? So today, the power is here.
Yes. Feel the power. Right?
So feel the power, right? We'll share it with you, of course. And let's start.
So what do we do now? Well, let's talk about.
Oh, I know what you have to do. We have to remind everyone, please, who's watching, that we have filters. We have Cambridge filters. So if they go to our Facebook page or our Instagram page, they can see how they can continue the conversation. And we also have lovely colleagues, right?
Absolutely.
We have Brad, we have
Medardo,
Evelina,
and we have
right?
Medardo, we have Fiona, and they will be answering the chat. They will be responding to questions. They would be having interaction with those people who are attending today's session from the distance, and we will be having interaction with you as well. Are you happy here? Yes,
So,
no, yeah.
Of course you are. But let's everybody be happy and let's start.
Okay, so where do we go now?
That's a very good question. I'm sure somebody knows where we're going.
Okay, are we, oh, they say, okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, they say that we should go on until we.
Okay,
So,
welcome.
so you were telling me about,
That's not a problem for me.
you were telling me
That's not a
about
problem
your
for
first
me.
experience as a teacher. Tell me about the second one. No, of course not. Until they are able
This is becoming very
to give
personal.
us.
What about your first time
Let me tell you.
as a teacher?
As a teacher, okay, all right, okay. As a teacher, no, that's a very interesting story because I wasn't meant to be a teacher. I didn't really know that I was going to be a teacher. Someone invited me, and I'm sure that that happened to many people. And someone invited me to teach I was 18 years old when the earth was black and white. And they invited me to teach students from prep school, I think it was.
Okay.
So we were about the same age. I didn't want to be there. The principal from the school said, okay, before you say no, come with me. And I have a class, she would be teaching that class, and you just sit there as a listener, and then we talk. So when we arrived, she said, oh, wait, I was about to sit down. And she said, oh, wait, stay here with me. And she told the class, here we have Ricardo, what's your last name? Morales. Ricardo Morales. He's a very experienced teacher. He will be your teacher from now on. And she told me, the class is about an hour. And I say, what do I do? And she said, improvise. That's what
this anecdote
do.
is about an hour, and we have to continue.
Yes, I know. But let me tell you that at first I was afraid. I was petrified, right?
Okay.
And then
and then
it all came naturally. So what do we do now? That was my
we have to go on.
Let's go on.
And that was my problem. That was my bad, because I should have given better instructions, right? I know that's what you're thinking. Okay, so confession time.
Okay.
But let me tell you, remember I told you I love working at Cambridge because I get to talk to lots of interesting people, just our colleagues here and colleagues everywhere. And earlier today, I talked to somebody who's really very interesting. And we talk about English, the importance of English, teaching English and learning English. Let me tell you, Mario, his name is Mario Zelecki. He's not an English teacher. He's not an ELT practitioner, as we say, but he's somebody very interesting. And remember that expression, name dropping? It's not my name is Mario video that Cambridge has made so popular, but this is a very special Mario. This is a person I really enjoy talking to, and he's got a wonderful story to share with us. And name dropping, let me drop some names. How about Steven Spielberg, Julia Roberts, Darth Vader, The Mandalorian, right? A. Abrams, all the sci-fi people know who I'm talking about, right? Lots of interesting names. So are we ready? I would like to share my conversation with Mario Zelecki today. Mario lives in the States, in the United States, but he's a Mexican, right? And he has a very interesting experience about teaching and learning English. So I would like to share that with you. This was recorded earlier today. So, Mario. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited because right now we're going to start a conversation with somebody who's absolutely interesting. You're going to see he's not specifically related to English language teaching himself, but you're going to see because he's got an amazing life and he's going to share some wonderful stories because he has met and talked to very interesting people. You're going to see. Hello, Mario. How are you? We're very excited to have you here with us today. And where are you? That looks like a very exciting place. Tell me.
Hi, Rosalia and all the gang and beautiful people from Cambridge. This is Mario Sekeli and I'm here at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. Yes, the Oscars house. And I'm using this time, first of all, to say thank you for this invitation and also to talk a little bit about myself because obviously I want to share my passion for the language, my passion for being here and my passion for having the chance to have teachers like you that teach me and changes my life forever. So I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but I was just there for 3 years. Then my parents, that are Mexicans, they moved back to Mexico and to Monterrey, Mexico, and I forgot the whole thing about English because my parents were a little afraid that I was not communicating with my Mexico new friends, with all my Mexican new friends. So I had to go back to English by myself. One of the ways obviously was watching a lot of movies, hearing music, hearing songs, reading books, and obviously reading comics. I was in love with comics since the beginning. And in that time, in the evenings, when I was going to high school, I spent 3 evenings every week going to a British institute learning English. And for me, it was a dream come true, because it was the moment that I really felt that one day I can dream to move to Hollywood, to spend my days living here and sharing my dreams and learning from my dreams and working here.
And that's where you are right now, Mario, and that's absolutely fantastic. But tell me, when you were studying English, when you were learning English yourself, how about the challenges that you found? What did you do about those challenges?
So one of the first challenge for me was obviously that around me people were not speaking English. So I have to find a way to always be connected with the language. That's why I use movies, and obviously every time that I could watch the movie in English, I did it. And as I said, the comics. The other challenge was I needed to have a scholarship to move here at one point, and I had to learn and a lot. I had to study a lot. At one point, after my college years, I moved to Boston and Philadelphia for 3 months to study more English and be involved more in the English experience. But again, I was in some ELS institutes where teachers taught me the way of the language, teach me grammar, teach me how to speak, how to evolve, and also, and most important, to be in front of another person and speak. So imagine, I'm a journalist now. I've been speaking with all the big celebrities that you can imagine: Julia Roberts, Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Martin Scorsese. And for that, you need confidence. You need confidence in you and your skills, of the way I use the language. And thank God and thank for my teachers, I was used to be in front of them and always having the chance to speak with them, and be obviously very, very happy to have the chance that they open their hearts and they talk about themselves. Not just about the things they were doing, their work, but about themselves. And that's why I am now a successful journalist after doing this for 30 years.
Wow, and that is absolutely amazing, Mario. But tell me, because as learners, we go through lots of different courses, so we tend to have many teachers, right? But I'm sure there are some teachers, at least 1 or 2 or 3, that have become unforgettable. I'm sure there are some teachers that you still remember, maybe somebody or some people that inspired you. Can you tell us something about those experiences, please?
And yes, Rosalia, I have the great luck that my grandmother, my father's mother, was an English teacher all her life. He even won a medal from the president, the Altamirano Medal President, for teaching for 50 years. And I have to say, she died when she was 104, and until the last day she was teaching English. And that brings me also inspiration, not just about my love for English, but also for the teaching profession. My father and my mom are teachers, my sisters too. And that's why I also, when I have the chance, I become a teacher of film history, screenwriting, journalism in 3 different universities in Mexico City.
That is absolutely fantastic. So not an English teacher, Mario, but you're also an educator. And I can see that. We can hear it when you tell us about those experiences. So how about that, the teachers as people who inspire others to follow their dreams, their goals?
Rosalia, I always think, and I always tell my students or people who wants to learn a second language, is learning, in this case English. You're gonna have the chance to be inside of the mind of a writer or an artist, for example. For me, Stephen King is the one who inspired me to learn more about English, because a friend of mine bring me this book called It, that you maybe know for the TV series or the movies. And it was I don't know, 1,300 pages book. It was so big, the book. And I have to read it in English, and I fall in love with the story.
Wow. I really have a million questions right now, Mario, but and I have to tell you, I mean, I never expected to hear you say anything about Stephen King. But going back to what you said about vocabulary, because I mean, people are always saying, I use English to communicate, and we know as teachers, as educators, that our learners would like to expand their vocabulary. And you obviously, because of what you do, you're a journalist, you interview people, etc. What can you tell us about that in your experience? What would you say? What would you recommend thinking about vocabulary and expanding your vocabulary?
So my father gave me a great advice. He said, don't use a dictionary Spanish English. No, no, no. You have to think always in English. That's an advice. Also, I know that his mother, my grandmother, told him when he was younger. So what I did is I have this kind of British dictionary, and every time that I found a word that I didn't understand, I found the word, and I found a word related with this word. So in that way, I learned 2 or 3 words that talks about the same meaning, not related with the same meaning. So that was the way that I learned to read more about English, and I also obviously I expand my vocabulary doing that. I also have to say that I have my cousin that he's a big comedian here in America, and it's also funny for me watching someone from my family. He was born in Mexico, by the way, but he's the opposite of me. He moved to Boston when he was 3 or 5, kind of that, like more like 5 or 6. And then he forgot the Spanish and he learned the whole English, and he became a comedian. So language has been always important for me, because I know that it's a way to express yourself and to tell a story.
I wish I had like at least 2 hours to keep on asking you things, Mario. But I want to ask you this, because as teachers, as educators, we usually try and recommend tools or resources that can help our learners, our students. How about you? Do you remember any particular tool or resource that was really, really useful in your case?
So I'm a Star Wars kid. When I was 7, I saw Star Wars, and I have the chance that my father, because he was a producer in Mexico, he teach me how you can make a movie. And I learned that I have to study very hard in order to have a scholarship and move to Los Angeles or New York to study movie making. Unfortunately, I didn't get the scholarship, but that was my path since I was 7 until I was like 25. And in a way I say, well, but I can keep learning because I have all these books, all these magazines. I was collecting these magazines about horror, science fiction, and fantasy magazines, and I fall in love with journalism because people were talking about my passion of making movies. And that's how I started to think, well, maybe I can be a journalist too, to be close of the people who makes movies. That's the thing that I did, and because of that, and because I knew how to use English in a proper way, my editors started to send me here to Los Angeles and New York to interview the celebrities. There were a lot of people from my age, or even older, I have to say, that they didn't know the language, and that's how they couldn't travel, they couldn't have these amazing interviews. Imagine the studios like Disney, like Universal, like Warner, pay me to fly from Mexico to stay in the fanciest hotels in Los Angeles or New York, and then watch the movies in advance, and then interview people like Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt, Steven Spielberg. You can, all the gang in Hollywood, I had the chance to interview them. So imagine that, and that's because English.
Mario, let me ask you something a bit more specific. Some people call them wow moments. Let's say, for example, they are landmarks. Which for you has been a special landmark? What can you remember?
I think my landmarks in the language, the first one was when I finished reading it, that I feel this sense of satisfaction in my heart and in my mind, because I had the chance to follow the story. But the next big thing for me was interviewing people here in Hollywood. But the crucial moment that for me was like my year 0 in my professional life was when they flew me to San Francisco. I interviewed 1 hour Mr. George Lucas in his office in the Skywalker Ranch. I had a chance, it was not an interview, it was not a Q&A, I'm just asking a question and he's giving me the answer. No, it was a conversation, a chat, a moment between a mentor and a student. He was very nice, and he was sharing with me his thoughts about Star Wars saga, and I could ask all the questions that I had since I was a kid, since I was 7. And again, that's because I have the confidence from good teachers to teach me how to be myself in front of someone else. Even that my English is not 100% the best, but it's enough to be in front of these people, and they can see in myself someone who appreciates them and have a knowledge about their careers and want to share a moment. One of the things that I have to face every day is that most of the time my interviews are just 5-10 minutes. So in just 5-10 minutes, I have to have the chance to open the hearts of the people that I interviewing. And again, it's the way that I have to pick my words and choose my sentences in a way that I connect to them, that they're gonna give me the best answers. So again, English.
Okay, so many names, so many wonderful places. I mean, I really wish I could have not just 2 hours, 2 days to keep on talking to you, but thinking about things that you have been doing, working with English teachers, working with other teachers, using English. Tell us a bit more about that, please.
Before I moved here, Rosalia, to Los Angeles 7 years ago, I spent my life 20 years in Mexico City, and 10 years of those 20 years, I was a professor in 3 different universities, Anáhuac, La Salle, Panamericana, and even a year in Tecnológico de Monterrey. And in Anáhuac, they asked me to teach in English, and that's how I took some advantage of that, because for me it was being more involved in the craft that I love, and also train myself because I knew that the time was near to move here. So I was a teacher, but also the experience of being with my students, they teach me how to be here. And also translating all the words and the way to see movies from Spanish to English in order to teach them was very, very important. So I took a very tough test over there in Anáhuac about English, and that's how they say, okay, you can teach. And well, the next is history. I have the chance to teach like 3 years in a row in English, and then I moved here.
But once a teacher, always a teacher, Mario, I can tell you that. And when we think about teaching, we always say that teaching is a really special profession, because it's not just teaching something specific like science or a language, but it's actually touching people, touching their hearts. How about your heart, Mario?
Any Mandalorian fan? You can hear the Mandalorian theme over here, because I'm about to be in a conference with the guy who makes the sounds of all the Star Wars saga. Yes, the guy who did the sounds of R2-D2, Darth Vader, Chewbacca, Ewoks, the lightsaber, the blasters, no? And also in another movies like E.T., he made the voice of E.T., he worked in Raiders of the Lost Ark, all the Spielberg and George Lucas movies and also the Pixar movies like WALL-E, he was behind WALL-E, Ben Burtt. So again, one of my heroes from my childhood, one person that I found out because I was reading the magazines and all the books about him in English, because back in the day all was in English. Now it's gonna be in front of me here, and that's because I have the chance to fall in love with Hollywood world and understand that I have to learn English in order to be part of this world. So that's like the circle is now complete, like Mr. Darth Vader once said.
Okay, I am a Mandalorian fan, and I can see all those Star Wars references. There are people here, you're touching different generations here, Mario. That's absolutely wonderful. Next year's interview should be there, actually. You take me there, and I will talk to you there. But before we go, tell us a bit about your future plans. please. I'm sure they're absolutely exciting.
So thank you very much for this invitation. I think my future is going to be here in Los Angeles. There are a lot of things to do. There are a lot of people to meet. I also want to direct a movie. Why not? And also take advantage of being in this amazing city. I'm also part of the Hollywood Foreign Press Associations, the guys who give the Golden Globes every year. I'm very proud about it. And also this, with that, it's the chance to be near of the people that I admire. This year also I have the chance to be in a bar with Mr. Steven Spielberg and film composer, Oscar winner John Williams, just chatting, talking about movies and my passion of the movies and obviously their love for the movies. And
Mario, how about something to inspire our colleagues, other English teachers, other English educators, to keep on inspiring their own learners? What can you say?
English is the international language for a lot of business. My father taught me that also when I was a kid, that if you want to go out from Monterrey, from Mexico, and explore the world, you have to learn English. And that lesson, I know my grandmother gave it to him and gave it to me too. That's why we love the language, and that's why we love teachers. And that's why I use this moment to say thank you for all of you for taking time with all your students. I know sometimes with these new technologies, apps, sometimes you can feel that they don't, you are not the best option sometimes for the new students, but they're gonna learn, don't worry. They're gonna go back, and the good student, the one who really wants to be involved of the English experience, not just as a grammar thing, but as an experience to live and to feel and to meet people, are the ones who are gonna approach people like you, all of you professors of Cambridge. Thank you very much. I say hello to you. May the force be with you from this amazing museum of the Academy. I'm here for you. I'm your neighbor here in Hollywood, and please feel free to reach me. Thank you very much, Mario, and I will be really glad to meet all of you one day. Thank you, and thank you, Rosalia, and thank you, Raquel, and thank you all the gang of Cambridge. Gracias.
Thank you, Mario. This has really been a wonderful conversation. I mean, yes, may the 4th and may the 4th be with you. Thank you for inspiring us. Thank you for making us remember how important it is to learn English, to teach English, because English can open so many doors, so many opportunities to fantastic things. We wish we were there with you, but now it's time to go back to the studio with Ricardo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Cambridge, where your world grows. This is Mario Sekeli from the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, House of the Oscar. I'm a film correspondent since 7 years ago from Mexico here in Los Angeles, and I just want to embrace you and send my best, because you are the best.
Okay, and now let's go back to the studio with Ricardo.
Thank you very much, Rosalia. Very interesting story. I think we learn a lot. And it's really interesting to see how people develop the language and where language can take them. And so we will continue talking about a couple of other things that are related to teachers. How are you doing here in the studio? Great. Okay, wow. Wow, all right, okay. Wow, that's really good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, for the next part of this very special day, my next guests are very interesting people from different fields, well, related to education and language teaching. And we will talk about developing the teaching muscle, what it takes to become trained and skillful in language teaching. So for that matter, I have some guests, and I would like to introduce Aldo Flores, National English Coordinator at UVM. Thank you, Aldo. Welcome.
Thank you, Thank you.
Okay. I would also like to introduce Alejandra Prado. She is the National language director, institutional language director at UVM and Unitec. Ale, thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you for inviting me.
And also, I would like to introduce Ruben Hernandez. He's the English coordinator at La Salle Mixcoac.
Thank you very much, Ricardo.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And what will we talk about? Do you remember? Yes.
Of
Okay, very
course.
good. Now, please remind me, right? Because I don't remember now. Now we will talk about training. We will talk about the importance of training. Let me read a couple of notes just as an intro. As a leader, you train teachers of different educational levels and context in development of teaching skills. That's what you do. And you teach teachers for English by providing them different strategies, methods, and teaching techniques. That's to help teachers improve their skills, right? And that's what we will talk about today. So let me ask you a question, and I would like, we're gentlemen, we will start ladies first. Why is it important for teachers to have adequate training, Ale?
I think it's really important, especially as a large institution like UVM and Unitec. We need to have a very clear objective. Our vision and mission, and of course, we need to train our teachers so that they can help us to achieve our goals, and especially to help our students to reach professional development, because language is one of the most important skills they will take outside the university. And I think that's something they need to develop, and they need to practice a lot. So we need to train our teachers to help us achieve those goals.
Okay. And Ruben, in this case, would you agree with Alejandra? Do you think that the importance of having teachers and staffs of teachers well-trained is essential to achieving your goals?
Of course, I agree with Ale. Well, first of all, it is important to have clear this. As teachers, we have the task to support our students so that they have an effective learning of process. In this case, learning English for communication. So that's why you need to be prepared to help them effectively. Otherwise, if you don't get prepared, you're not going to be able to do that.
I think that's the key. And we will go back to that point later on when we talk about how we train ourselves to be better teachers. And I'm sure everybody here would agree that there's relevance in everything we do in order to train our teachers to become better ones. But let me ask you, Aldo, and well, this might be, I wouldn't say a tough question, but let's say it has different angles. How do teachers respond to training? What do they say when it comes to, okay, training time? What do they say?
Well, I think it comes down to each teacher's perspectives and experience, first of all, but also many teachers respond differently to training than students to classes, right? Normally, when teachers are presented with the opportunity of training, some of them may take it very well, some of them may not, depending on their experience again, right? But if the training topic, we can say, is focused on their interests, then they gladly take it, right? They gladly take it and they take the training and they participate a lot. However, when something is like institutionalized, they may not respond so well, even though it is training they need, right? So I think it depends on those characteristics mainly.
Okay. And Ruben, how does that affect the outcome? When you notice that a teacher is well-trained, engaged, prepared, what are the impact? What's the impact that it has in the classroom?
Well, the ones who receive the best are our students, of course. So that's why we need to make our teachers be aware of, so that they know that if they're prepared, they're going to be able to help students. So students are going to get their objectives. And then this is going to be like very, let's say, very good for us as teachers, because that is one of our missions, to really help our students. So that's why it's very important. And then once teachers are aware of that, they will start looking for techniques, strategies, and things like that, so that they can really have the necessary tools to help students.
Okay, so that takes me to the point in which, as a teacher, you shouldn't only receive training, you should also look for some training. Ale, would you say that there has to be some autonomous, independent ways to get some training and to develop your skills as a teacher?
Yes, definitely. I think as a teacher, you are always aware of your limitations or the areas of opportunity that you yourself detect while you are teaching. And I think that that's your own responsibility as a teacher to improve those areas in which you can get more training on, and that can help you to give better classes and have a better experience and have your students get a better experience while you are teaching a class. But I think that you need to be self-aware of which those areas are, and you have to look for training yourself, probably not just a formal training course, but some literature, some peer observation that can also help you to develop those areas.
Okay, that's really interesting. And do you think, Aldo, that students notice when their teacher is well prepared, well trained, that the teacher has the skills, knows what to do in the classroom? Do you think students perceive that?
Yeah, students definitely perceive that. Students, as I like to say, they can smell fear, right? They can smell when a teacher is not prepared, when a teacher is, as it happened to you, right? To improvise at the beginning of your teaching career that you didn't know. It definitely affects how the students view the teacher and how they view the class itself, if they decide to pay attention to it, to take it seriously or not.
Mhm.
So I think a very well prepared teacher definitely reflects that in their classes, and is definitely a plus for students in their lessons.
Right. And there are many ways, right, to get yourself training. Ruben, would you like to share some ideas on how to, as a teacher, you can train yourself or get access to different sources for training?
Well, nowadays we have technology, which is here with us, and it is important to consider that, because it is not necessary to attend a workshop or something like that. You just with your computer, you can do that. So if you know that you have technology, you have information available for you, you can go over videos, you can go over many sources, then it is easier for you to get prepared. But the point here is that the teachers need to be aware of that they need to be trained. They need to be prepared so that they can help students.
I think that's a very interesting point, right? That teachers feel that that's what they need in order to do what they do in a better way. Ale, Ruben mentioned something about technology. In a large institution like UVM, how does technology impact the way you train your teachers?
I think it impacts a lot in a very positive way because we can reach more teachers in less time. I mean, before the pandemic, we used to have face-to-face training, and it took us around 2 months to reach our 29 campuses. Now, during the pandemic, we implemented online training, and it took us around a week to train the same number of teachers. So I think it makes it, for us, it made it more efficient.
Okay.
And the process, it's easier. And we also have the advantage of recording the training so that our teachers, the ones that couldn't join the live session, they can go back to the video and at least be aware of what we touched during that session. So I think it has impacted in a very positive way in our institution.
Okay, I think that's very interesting. Ruben, would you like to add?
Yeah, well, and besides that, let me tell you this: students have technology available for them too. So this is something that we need to. We cannot ignore that we have that technology, because our students use technology all the time. I don't know, thinking about Chat GPT, for instance. Now we have it here with us, and then we need to start, start using it so that we can know what we are gonna face and the way we're gonna teach. And even though we can think about the way we're gonna teach our students with these new technology resources.
Okay, so resources, technology, it's important for teachers, Aldo, that they board the train of technology to be out of their comfort zone. Sometimes we say, no, I'm a more traditional teacher. Technology is not necessarily for me. What would you tell teachers in
Yeah,
regards to
I think technology is a must nowadays for teachers because it's not only present in our everyday lives, as the teacher Ruben says, that ChatGPT, right? It's no longer a matter of making sure you know about it, but also making sure you don't get replaced by it later on, right? As many online dictionaries do, or even professions like interpretation or translation
Right.
can be in danger of these new technologies. Also teachers, right? We need to make sure what is the technology that students are using, what are they using in their daily lives, in their other classes, in their other topics in the curriculum, so that we know how we can approach them as well.
Now, but that's very interesting because do you think technology would replace, substitute a teacher, Alejandra? What would you say?
I think that technology will never replace the teacher, but I think the teacher needs to learn how to take advantage of technology to have a better impact on their students. I mean, now with the pandemic, we learned how much we can do with technology. So I think it's now our responsibility as educators to know what to do with that technology so that we can have a greater impact.
That's true. Remember when someone told you, now you have to teach online? And that, remember I told you, first I was afraid, I was petrified. Weren't you like a little bit of the same, like, oh, now what do I do, right? How do I do this? How do I, and that's true. Technology would never replace a teacher. But as Aldo said, like, but maybe there's someone there who uses technology that can replace the teacher who does not use technology. So it's really good. It's important to be there. No.
Yeah, well, and along with that, we need to teach our students how to use that technology also, because we're teaching them how to communicate, but how to use that technology to use it for that purpose. And then that's something else we need to, and that's why we need more training and we need to be a step beyond. It's kind of difficult, but we should do that. We should have it in mind at least so that we can look for different sources.
That's why you have to train the muscle, right? The training muscle, or to train the teaching muscle. And what would you tell teachers, Aldo, that really feel that they struggle a lot with technology? What little tip or a piece of advice that you would give them?
Well, personally, I think technology is not something to be afraid of, but something to try out, because unless I'm mistaken, I don't think anybody has died from trying a new activity in the classroom. So trying it out with a new technology, instead of shutting doors, it will open them for you and your students, because the students are already using it. If it's not in the English class, it's in another class as well, right? So I think it's definitely important that curiosity that you get to have for a piece of technological aspect, how to apply it into the classroom, right?
And what would you tell teachers that feel in disadvantage because they feel or they see that their students are digital natives and they are used to or very well equipped to use technology? What would you tell teachers who might feel in disadvantage, Ruben, and they say like, no, my students know better how to use technology, so I rather not go there?
Yeah, this is a problem we can see every day with our teachers, especially the ones like have more experience, let's say like this. But it is important to tell them that since we have this, instead of having this as a negative aspect we have in teaching, they can take advantage of it so that they can improve, they can use that technology, those resources, so that they can improve their teaching processes and all that.
Okay, that's really interesting, and I wish we had more time, as Rosalia had with his participant interviewer, that I wish we could talk more and more about technology. But let's talk a little bit about different ways to have training in your teaching staffs. For example, there's this concept or notion of, well, for observation, peer observation. But what about peer training? Is there a case, or is it something that you have tried in your institutions, like a teacher training another teacher and being collaborative in order to empower themselves? Ale, would you like to talk about? Apparently, Aldo wants you to say something about that, right? It's a very nice way to deflect the question out now.
Well, what we have done at UVM is not really like formal training teacher with teacher, but we have a best practice, not competition, but it's peer observations. Teachers get into the classroom and they try to find out something that it's really nice that has worked very well in the classroom. So they take notes about it and then they share it with the rest of the teachers. So in that way, they can share this nice way of doing one activity or another, or on how to approach a difficult exercise or topic. And especially we are focusing now on communicative activities. I mean, those activities that really help our students produce the language with certain context. So that's what we do. I mean, it's not really formal training, but yes, it's sharing nice experiences in the classroom and those activities. So they also have a certain little format that they can fill in so that they can keep their attention on something in particular. And then they have these sessions with the rest of the staff, including the coordinators, so that they can share these experiences. And it has helped a lot.
Okay, and they also say, well, many people who are in the field of training, they also say that it's relevant as training teachers is feedback. What about feedback for teachers? How important, how relevant is that for teachers when it comes to giving them feedback about the way they deliver their classes? Aldo. I was looking at Ruben, but I was for you, right?
I saw it coming.
You saw that coming.
No, I think it's really important. I mean, I think it's essential to have a correct feedback process, because if we leave it just in the observation or the sharing of comments, but without really analyzing what happened in the classroom and what can happen with technology, with other aspects of the training for teachers, I think it will just be left there. It will just not be building up on each teacher's experience. So I definitely think feedback is an important process to have, and that it should have a specific structure at school, at the curriculum, with each teacher and coordinator that has the program, and in order to build up on that.
Okay. Ruben, is there anything you would like to add about feedback?
Yeah, well, I would like to go back a little bit on what Ali was mentioning in terms of having this peer observation and all that. Well, sometimes when we find problems when teaching, we think that we are alone, but we're not alone. We work as a team. And then when you work as a team, you know that you can have someone to ask for something, and then they can help you. And then when you have this nice environment with your teachers, then it would be more effective to have feedback, because you can have the feedback from the coordinators or from somebody else, but you can have also feedback from your teachers, from your coworkers, right. So then that can be more effective, and then you can feel with more confidence to ask questions them, so that, oh, you know what, I have this problem and how can I solve this situation, and then you can go on and my class, and this is going to be even better, as if you were observed by the coordinator, or you receive this formal feedback.
Right. And those are the golden moments, right? When a teacher tells you, would you like to observe my class to get feedback, right? Sometimes observation feels like that scary moment for teachers, or that's a moment where teachers have the best class saved, right? The star class saved. So the moment someone goes and observes, that's my show time, right? Okay. I noticed that we're almost wrapping up, right? But I wouldn't really like to leave without asking each one of you to give some piece of advice for teachers who, either new teachers or experienced teachers, who feel they would need some more training, or that they need to have that nerve for training. What would you advise them, Aldo, if they needed some more training, whether they are new or experienced? What piece of advice would you give?
Well, my first piece of advice would be to get close to their coordinators, to their colleagues, right? Because I'm sure they can give some advice on a specific aspect of training, and also to looking back a little bit at feedback, to take it as an opportunity to take another's perspective on your work. Because when you teach, you always have your own perspective, unless someone observes you and tells you, hey, why don't you try this out instead of that one, right? And it will always work. It will always give you a wider and broader view on things.
Okay.
So get in contact with your colleagues, get in touch with them. As they were saying, teaching is not that you're working alone. You're working always with someone there to help you.
The team effort, right? Okay. Ale, a piece of advice for teachers in regards to training?
I will tell them to be open-minded. I mean, there's always many different ways in which we can reach an objective in a class.
Okay.
So the more you try, the more things, the more activities you try, the more ways that you try in the classroom, the better you will become, because you have more feedback from yourself.
Okay.
I mean, you can keep on learning on what you did well, what worked, what didn't work. But if you don't try new things, you will never know how a good teacher you can become.
All right. Okay. And Ruben?
Yeah, well, I will have two pieces of advice for experienced teachers. The other day, I was listening to a teacher saying that we were receiving workshop, we were on a workshop, and he said, like, well, you're telling us that if it is, we have done this all the time. And of course not, because the students you're teaching right now are not going to be the same to the ones that you're going to teach in 1 month. So you have to be open to learn and to be aware of that education moves on, like goes on all the time. I mean, it doesn't stop. So then you have to be aware of that. And for the new teachers, this is not an easy task. Being a teacher is not easy. You have to be prepared. You know that you have to get experience, you have to get knowledge, you have to work on different aspects of education, because you work with people. So there's always something, there is always someone who can help you.
Okay.
And then that would be my recommendation.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. Before we go, I really want to thank you, Aldo, Alejandra, Ruben. I think that was really interesting to the people who are here joining us in live and people who are there from a distance. So thank you very much. Thanks for your participation, and I'm looking forward to the next time. Right? Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, before we go on, I think it's time to show a video. We have prepared a video that was developed as part of a campaign, an effort to be in closer contact with teachers. And I'm sure you will find this video very interesting. This is something we did with one school that is our partner school, and I think we have some members from the school here in the audience, right? And I'm sure you would love this video. Are we ready? Yes? Yeah, thank you.
English for us is not just a subject.
Hello, good morning.
It gives us a perspective on life.
It's the cornerstone of our education.
It's the most powerful tool you can have.
English is very important for the students and for the parents in our school.
Very good. Did you like it?
It expands their opportunities tremendously.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning.
This is more important than just teaching words.
It can change your life completely.
What I hope for my learners is that they could find a passion in anything they want to do, the same as I did with English.
What about the next one? Keep up with demands.
I never say I go to work. I just say I go to school. I love teaching and I try to get to the school community in every way possible.
What have you got here?
A train station.
I believe in the future they will become global citizens.
He's wearing blue jacket.
Our sports class, our music class, and some other classes are taught in English. by trying to encourage them to continue working for their dreams.
Okay, another example.
I take a shower. Our community has been impacted by English because our students dream very high nowadays. I can prove to the world that you can speak English. Whatever opportunity comes, you'll be ready.
Teaching gives me the chance to enrich the lives of my students and open up new opportunities to them by sharing my passion for the English language. Being a teacher is a part of me. I really feel it. I really feel it.
Okay, very nice video. Did you like it? Love it, right? Fantastic, amazing. Yeah, of course, a round of applause. That I really love those spontaneous applauses. No, I think that was really interesting, nice, inspirational. Thank you, Miss Lily. All right. Okay, thanks. But we have more videos. We have more videos. That's what we call the wow moments. Rosalia, you're not here with me, but I'm sure you will be sharing, right? What I feel about that. We have testimonials from teachers, right? And I think this will get directly to your heart once you watch them, because they are very nice, intense, passionate videos that we have for you. Are we ready for those? Yes, thank you. Okay, here we go.
Hello, my name is Abraham Olazo and I'm from Mexico. I remember when I started learning English, I felt overwhelmed by the amount of vocabulary and grammar rules I had to memorize. In addition, pronunciation was quite a challenge for me. However, with time and constant practice, I was able to overcome these obstacles and achieve fluency in the language that I never imagined possible. English has helped me create content on social media that can reach a global audience. I've been able to talk to and make friends with people from all over the world, share my ideas, and even collaborate with other content creators. But I couldn't have done any of this without my teacher support and dedication. I thank all those teachers who taught me the language, motivated me to keep going, and provided their help when I needed it. Therefore, today I want to thank all the teachers who dedicate their lives to teach and guide their students. You are a source of inspiration and an example to follow for many of us. Thank you for your tireless work and dedication to education. Happy Teachers Day!
Hello, I am Ceci. I have been an English teacher for over 25 years. I always knew I wanted to study English because it's a language that has been with me since I was a little girl. I had the opportunity to travel abroad with my family, but I was nervous because I didn't understand what people were saying and always had to ask my mom. Then I thought to myself, I think I need to study English because I don't want to have this problem in the future. I also took ballet classes when I was a girl, and every year we had a final exam with an examiner from the Royal Academy of Dancing in London. When we received our results, the teacher would read the comments, and I didn't understand anything because they were in English. That's when I decided to study English. As I studied and learned more, I discovered that what I really wanted was to teach others what I was learning. Sharing with children and helping them understand the world around us has been a wonderful experience. Over the years, seeing my first students now as adults who have mastered English makes me feel satisfied and proud. Now I love what I do. Learning English is one of the best things I have done.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Estrada. I'm one of the English coordinators at Colegio Cumbres Bilingüe Chihuahua. I've been a teacher for about 15 years already, and I still love my job. When I was a little girl, I used to help my brother whenever he had an exam or he had to study for something. I was his teacher. So at that moment, I realized that's what I wanted to do in order to keep the satisfaction of knowing that I can help others. It's amazing to see how kids learn and acquire a second language, how thankful they are all the time. I am so grateful I work with such great teachers every single day. Having this profession is one of the best decisions I have ever made. We are all doing a great job. Happy Teacher's Day.
Every time I have a conversation or an interview with someone in English, even related to the royal family like scholars, historians, or peers, I take for granted my English, and I shouldn't, because I didn't learn it from the grace of God. I went to school, I invested so much time and my parents' money on it, and the most important thing, it's not even about the books or the method. It was all about the teachers. By the time I was in high school, I was a child reporter for sports, and I remember I went to the World Cup of football to USA 94, and I was only 15. Of course, I made a difference not only for my reporting, but helping others who need translations from English for all over the world. I couldn't achieve that if I hadn't spoke English. So I need to thank, and I really want to thank from the bottom of my heart, all my teachers. From Miss Elenita in kindergarten, because I still remember the chicken song, to Miss Marta, who used to explain with a little truck the difference between do and does, to Miss Hilda, because she always made the classes so fun, and of course to Miss Juliet, because she taught me Alice in Wonderland and Winnie the Pooh, which are still my favorite British novels. And what about Miss Luzma and Miss Paulette and the late Miss Berta? I know everything about grammar because of Miss Mercy. And speech with Miss Lourdes in junior high school made me a great speaker. I am a very good one. But the most important thing of all is that I made something out of it. As my English started to fade out when I was in the college years because I spent so many time in Spain, I looked for counsel. So I approached the Anglo with Miss Patty Chavez, and she corrected and refreshed my knowledge in English. So thank you to all of my teachers, even the late ones like Miss Lilia Arroyo, because she sent me to Florida for a summer to learn my best English. Thank you all for everything you've done for me. My career and even my life is better because of my English.
Hello, I am Milda, and I am an English teacher in Mexico, and I have been teaching for almost 35 years, and right now I work for the Escuela Nacional para Maestras de Jardines de Niños, and I had the opportunity to come and bring my poster to YATEFL 2023.
I am Maria Fernanda. I am an English teacher, and today I want to share with you something special. The most exciting moment in my career has been helping my students to obtain their Cambridge Starter Certificate. As we know, the pandemic was a time when teachers had to look for new alternatives to work with children. And also for children was a challenge because they have to adapt to these new teaching styles. So, seeing my children receive their certificates fills my heart with joy, and words are not enough to express how proud I felt of them and of myself. So today I want to thank to Colegio Americano de Tabasco for giving me the opportunity to be part of their work team. And also I want to thank to my students for keeping this dream alive. Because being a teacher is not what I do, it's who I am. Happy Teacher's Day.
Hi everyone. I am honored to share my experience as a teacher at Instituto Simón Bolívar. It has been 2 years since I joined this institution, and I must say that it has been an incredible journey. Being a teacher is a very important and rewarding profession. It requires dedication, hard work, and passion. During my time at Instituto Simón Bolívar, I have encountered many challenges, but I have also experienced many joys. One of the most satisfying things about being a teacher is seeing the progress of your students. I have too many kids who didn't speak at all, but when they see you, they want to imitate everything you do. They want to feel the same passion you feel. As a teacher, we have the power to inspire our students. We are not just teaching them about the language, we are teaching them about life. We are teaching them about how to be good citizens, how to be kind and successful in life. I am grateful to serve this institution, and I am proud of the work that we do here. Thanks for listening, and I hope that you keep inspiring the next generations. Thank you.
Okay, did I tell you that they were inspirational or not?
Yes.
Really inspirational, right? Heartwarming, isn't it? You feel like, and then that's the moment when you say, that's why I'm a teacher. That's why I want to be a teacher. I've always thought that there is this curve throughout the year. You know, at the beginning of the school year, September, we have this battery powered, and we have this feeling and stamina, and we are there. October, November, starts going down. We're thinking about Christmas holidays, right? Then Christmas holidays are like few, and we're back into, I feel the energy again. January, February, it's okay, but then it goes down, right? And then holidays again, Semana Santa, and then we have that, and we say, yes, that's gonna help me through the end of the year. But then it's May, June, and we say, when we count the days, and then sometimes we say, no, that's it. This is it. I'm not going to be here next school year. Then something miraculous happens throughout July, and then here we are again, August, and then we start again. That's the teaching cycle we have. But these videos, I think they are really inspirational. And speaking of inspiration, my next guest is the living proof that learning languages really help you and opens doors. I'm honored to have here Cristian Velasco Reyes. He is a professor and researcher, a full-time professor and researcher at CIDE, Centro de Investigación y Docencia Económica, who has a vast experience in language learning and using language and how language has helped throughout his career. So thank you very much, Cristian.
Thanks to you for
We're really pleased to have you here.
Thank you.
And let's talk about your very first steps, right? What took you to learn English? How did you learn English? When did that happen?
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's an amazing opportunity to speak about this. Well, I started learning English, since I was in the elementary school, but nothing very good, to be honest. But I think that the watershed was when I started to take some lessons in the Anglo.
Okay.
And I want to learn English properly, because most of the readings that I want to do was in English. If you think just a little, Spanish is a very important language for learning history, but English is more important because around 70% of all the literature is written in English. Even if you want to read something about, Mexican history, Latin American history, or the Caribbean history, that's going to be written in English.
Okay, so that's what took you to learn the language.
Yes, exactly.
And you said that at the beginning it was a little bit difficult. What were the main challenges? What were those challenges that you faced?
Yeah, well, English is not it's a complex language. Maybe not as complex as any other language, German or Welsh or something like that. But I think it made it difficult for me and for most of the people that are not from Latin America or the Caribbean, is that you want to be, at the beginning, you want to be perfect speaking English, and you want perfection. You want to make full when you are speaking in English. And I think that this is it's a big mistake, because you need to learn that you are going, even when you are very good in English, you are going to be making mistakes all the time. It's the same in Spanish. The difference is that you don't notice that. But that's once you understand that you are not going to be perfect, you are never going to be perfect in any language, you can learn more, and you need to lose the shame to make mistakes.
Okay, so you need to feel more confident, more comfortable using the language.
Exactly.
Right?
You
Okay.
need to feel more comfortable, and that's it. I think that's the secret.
That's
you
the
start
secret.
learning more and speaking more.
Was it difficult? You mentioned that, well, you use it through your reading and through your work. Does that mean that you use English most of the time when you are working in your working environment? You use?
Yes, I mean, besides of teaching, because my main field of study of field of research is colonial Africa, British colonial Africa. So all the sources are in English. But besides of the teaching, I think that 90% of my readings, but also I'm writing in English. So I use English all the time. For me, it's like the main tool for my research.
So would you say that without using the language, without English, you would probably not be doing what you're doing? Would that be
Yes,
the
of
case?
course, totally. I mean, even if you, as I mentioned, even if you want to make some kind of research in Caribbean or Spanish, wherever, you need English to read the literature. Also, I did my other focus is in economic history.
Okay.
So I did my master in LSE and my PhD in Warwick. So I mean, that was obviously, as British institutions, I needed to learn English properly, not just.
How was it when you had the first contact because you mentioned you visit or you have been to different countries.
Yeah.
So you felt a little bit threatened when you had to use English in real life, for real life?
Yes, of course. I mean, it's like in Spanish, it's not the same to speak in a school that to go to the streets and speak with different people. It was challenging because the British University are kind of international university. So you need to speak with people from different countries, from different parts of the world. So they have different accents. And this is something that I want to remark, because there is not, I mean, obviously English is from UK or wherever, but British English is not the only English. No? You have different accents, different rules, and all the people, and you need to learn, and you need to make you understand with that people, and learn some kind of specific word, specific way of speaking to communicate with the people of different parts of the world, even when they speak English.
And you mentioned that English has helped you open many doors. That means visiting different countries, many countries. Other than England that you mentioned, what other countries have you visited?
Well, for example, I was in different parts besides of Spain, obviously. I went to France and Germany, and I don't speak any German, so it was easier for me to communicate in English. But also, for example, I mean, in many countries of Africa, I spent, because of my research, some months in Kenya, and I don't speak Swahili. That is the country.
Not a word in Swahili?
No.
Okay.
That's not a word. It's challenging. And so English was the only way that I have to communicate, because the Kenyans speak Swahili, their own different local language, and also English. So the only way to communicate with these people, with the Kenyan, was through English.
Okay. Christian, I'm sure that your words inspire people, no? Because we always think English will help me, but sometimes we don't see that crystallized in living examples. do you have any plans for the future? What's coming in your career?
Well, as I mentioned, what's coming is I'm transforming my thesis in a book. So it's going to be published in the next years, hopefully. And also because my audience is English speaker people. So I'm publishing different articles, and I can say that other thing that I want to do is really improve my English continually, because it's something that you never end to improve.
Okay. And how does that help? I mean, you've mentioned that it has helped you and for your upcoming plans. Do you think that there are different other opportunities that you might take, and would you say English would take a leading role, a key role in taking those opportunities?
Yes, of course. As economic historian, historian from the British Empire, I think that it was essential for me to learn it. So in order to take that opportunity to study a master abroad, I had to learn English to improve my English. And this is important because it's some kind of English that it's quite funny, because maybe speaking is not as important as writing and reading. In my case, it depends what you want to do, but I had to learn writing and reading very, very good, very well to achieve my aspirations.
Your aspirations, right? And I think that's a powerful message for those who are looking for achieving or getting the scholarship or wanting to study abroad.
Yeah.
Because I think that's fixing in many people's mindsets. No, they say, I want to study abroad, but what about my English? And
yes, in fact, if you want, I need to say this, because even if you want to study abroad, and some people choose, Spain has very good universities, but they try to choose Spain because of the English, of the language, but you need it. That's it. I mean, even if you study there in Portugal or Spain, you will need English. It's a requirement.
Yes, you would need English as a requirement, and you would need English to communicate with people from Spain, right? Because sometimes it's difficult to understand how they say, well, say that, but in English, right? So we can understand each other. Oh no, yes, definitely. Now you also have experience as a teacher.
Yep.
You teach different subjects in English as well.
Well, I talk in English, but just when I was at Warwick, I had the opportunity to teach British history, and American history. But here now I teach in Spanish.
Okay, all right, okay. And was it difficult to teach a subject in English?
Yes, of course, it's challenging because you need to learn more technical language, we can say. But I was lucky because in university people is very kind, so. They have patience to you.
They say, okay, we get you, right? Okay, right? Okay, no, definitely. But I mean, if teaching the subject is difficult, challenging, then do it in English. A ver quién, no? Right? Okay, all right, very good, very good. We're ready, or almost closing this very interesting interview. Is there a message that you would like to give or to share with the audience here, those people who are on the way to learn a language, but also for teachers who every day help students improve their language? What would you advise them? What message would you send to those teachers who are helping students every day?
Well, this is quite unfair because I know that I don't teach English, and I think that we have here very professional people. But I think that for the people that is learning, I think my advice is be patient. That's my first advice. It's any kind of language is difficult to learn, but you need to find something that is interesting for you. That's the secret. If you learn better with songs or writing or I don't know, reading, do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the door that you need to open. For teachers, as I mentioned, I'm not an English teacher, so I'm here. If I'm talking rubbish.
No, not at all.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
But I think that you need to focus on the other side, on the interest of their students.
Okay.
Because, for example, for me, it was quite boring, to be honest, when I have to learn with songs. So I prefer movies and reading. So that's for me. But there are some people maybe that they learn better watching movies or listening songs. So I think that each student, and that's I think for all the teachers, are different. So you need to understand as much as possible the necessities of each student.
Okay. And you're not an English teacher, and that's actually what we tell teachers all the time, right? Like, imagine, maybe you have a brilliant career as an English teacher in the future. We'll see. We'll see about that.
But I think
it's time to finish. I wouldn't really like to let you go without thanking you for your words. I find them very inspirational. I'm sure people who are here with us and also over there find really interesting and inspirational what you have been telling them. So thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Right. Okay. Well, don't go. Stay here with me, right? And help me because I think we have more videos. Remember those videos we watched a few minutes ago, right? Some of you got your tissue paper and stuff. Okay. Well, we have some more. You want to see some more? That wasn't a very excited. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now I feel you want to, right? Okay. Are we ready there? Yes. Very good. Thank you, Christian.
No, thank you.
My teacher. She is such a genuine and clever person. She makes me passionate about science and having the curiosity to learn day by day. I want to congratulate my morphology teacher for her innovative and experimental type of teaching. This has helped me to evolve and persist into the incredible scientific world. I hope her expertise and wisdom remains resourceful for my future. And finally, thank you to every teacher in this world who help us take a different path each day.
My teacher is Miss Patty. She has been my English teacher for the last 3 years. And throughout this time, she has proven to be the best English teacher I've had. She inspires me to improve, and thanks to her support, I have achieved many of my goals. She arrives to class with a smile and a cheerful attitude every day, and comes up with a new activity or idea to continue learning. When I leave middle school, I will miss her a lot, and that's why I consider her my favorite teacher.
I want to congratulate my teacher Marifer because she is beautiful, kind, affectionate, devoted to children, and she is my favorite teacher, and I want her to always be happy. Happy Teacher's Day!
Hi, my name is Miguel Ángel Castillo Ordaz. I study at the Colegio Americano in Tabasco, and this is the reason why I love my teachers. They are so helpful, kind, and generous at the moment to explain a topic of grammar or vocabulary. When we study for the exams, we play games of vocabulary or grammar to study more. They are the best teachers of the world, and that is the reason why I love my teachers. Thank you. Bye.
I study at Colegio Americano de Tabasco. My teacher is the best because she is a friendly person, and when I have a problem, she explains the topics in a very easy way. I love my teacher.
A teacher is someone special in the life of a student. Today, I'm very grateful to all my teachers. Thank you for the effort, time, and dedication. And I wish you a happy Teacher's Day. And remember that you always help and build the path of a student.
Hi, my name is Ares Quiñones. I am a first grade student from Colegio Cumbres Bilingüe, Chihuahua. My teacher Christy is very nice. She is awesome. My favorite subject is science, and the way she explains everything is amazing. Thank you, Miss Christy. Thank you, teachers from Colegio Cumbres Bilingüe, for everything you have done for us. Happy Teacher's Day.
Hi teacher, I want to congratulate you because you have your very own way to speak English and to teach us, that you make it funny and you make it interesting for us. I love all of the exercises you do because you make them more easier to help us understand and to speak English in a more fluid way. I hope you're having a great Teacher's Day and I hope you're really happy because you deserve it. Happy Teacher's Day! Love you all!
I want to congratulate Teacher Alex because he showed me how to express myself and how to understand English with his unique and dynamic method, and he shows me how to reach my potential by making observations, and he always explains me if I don't understand something. I want to say thank you, teacher.
Hi, I am Sofia Chaparfamili, and today I want to congratulate and take a teacher who, even that we have 4 classes in a row day, her classes go by quickly and she makes us have a lot of fun in her class. Also, I want to say that this teacher is very cool, very sweet, and she's very patient with me, even though I am a distracted student with low grades. I know that this teacher is willing to help me and support me in the subject that she gives us. And that's the reason that I love her so much. This teacher is Patricia Carrillo, also known as Miss Patty. Thank you, Miss Patty. Bye.
Hi, my name is Rigel de la Fuente Muñoz. I am from Instituto de Lenguas Extranjeras High School. Today, I want to congratulate my teacher Adriana Cruz because I think she's the best little teacher I ever met. Why? Because she always explains the lessons in such a way we can understand them easily. And she always motivates me to participate in extracurricular projects, and she sees the potential in me. So that's why I really think she's the best teacher. And there's no one like her.
Hi, my name is Luz Fernanda Family, and I want to congratulate my teacher Patty because her classes are never boring and are always interesting. Also, because her classes are interactive and you learn in different ways each class, and she gives us the confidence to be able to talk to her without feeling judged. Thanks, Miss Patty, for all the patience that you have with us and that you kept beside all of us asking the same thing. You are willing to explain to us in our ways so that we understand. Also, because you realize that not all of us have the same way of learning, and you do jobs that adapt to our ways of learning. Thank you, Miss Patty.
My teacher is the best. She is the best English teacher I ever had. She is so kind and she helps you with everything you need. She means a lot to me because she has always been there for me and I have learned a lot from her. She is so sweet and when she comes to the classroom, she has a very good attitude and she says good morning to you. She makes the lessons fun and she's very patient and I admire her for that. I'm very grateful to have her as my teacher because she's so kind and I hope every teacher was like her.
Hello, my name is Evelyn and I study at the Institute of Foreign Languages and I want to congratulate my favorite teacher, Patty. I want to congratulate her because she's a very good teacher and she listens to you when you tell her your problems and gives you advices. And whenever we don't understand the homework or the job, she explains to us until we understand. She always treats us all very well and I really like my math teacher.
Good morning. My name is Ana Jimena. I want to thank all my teachers for the effort and dedication to teach me every day new things. Happy Teacher's Day. I love you. Mwah. Hello. My name is Miranda Flor Barras. Teacher, you are the best. I love you. Mwah.
Hello, I am Roberto Gonzalez Anchondo from the South School. I want to thank the teachers for their dedication and commitment. Their courage is very invaluable. Teaching is leaving a mark on another person's life. Thank you for your effort and for always educating with your heart. Happy Teacher's Day. Thank you.
Hi, today I'm gonna talk about my favorite teacher from the Instituto de Lenguas Extranjeras, ILE. My favorite teacher is the teacher Mike because he set limits to develop responsibility and respect. And also I think he is preparing us for our future. He's strict like Professor Snape in Harry Potter, but he let us know that it's important for our education and we learn in her class and that it's very important. I am Bárbara González Almeda from the Instituto de Lenguas Extranjeras, ILE, and this is my favorite teacher.
Hi, my name is Emily from the Instituto de Lenguas Extranjeras. And my favorite teacher is Miss Patty because she always understands our situations and tries to help us when we need it. So I know I can count with her. I don't like mathematics, but in her class, I know I can understand almost everything for the different activities. I also admire her a lot because she's very young, but she has many achievements. So, in my opinion, she's an example to follow. Well, thank you for watching. See you soon.
Hello, my name is Alicia Gonzalez and I am from Instituto de Lenguas Extranjeras. My favorite teacher is Isela Ortiz because I think she has a very good way of teaching grammar and vocabulary. There is an order on her classes since she knows how to apply the rules. And I really admire her because I think she has
a lot of experience teaching. These are the things that make her my favorite teacher.
Hi, my name is Alba Garcia. I'm from Ile, and my favorite teacher is Miss Gisela, my English teacher. I want to congratulate her because her classes are so amazing, so beautiful. I love her voice, and her personality is so beautiful. She's a very good person, and I love her. Thank you, Miss Gisela, for teaching us. Love you.
Grow, grew, grown. When you grow up, what will you be when you grow up? She grows, she learns, she improves. Her interest is growing. She grows in she will prove herself. She grows in curiosity. She is curious. Curiosity. Her passion is growing stronger. She grows in confidence. She grows in confidence. I will grow in confidence, prove myself, and reach my full potential. This is where ambition grows, where potential grows, and where your future grows. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to learn about the sky at night. Cambridge is where your world grows.
That was really something, wasn't it? Right? All those great learners, really. Very happy to be with you. Now to introduce three people who are colleagues, but who are also very good friends of mine. So I'm very happy to introduce, in no special order whatsoever, Mr. Niall Lloyd. Right?
Good afternoon.
Chief Commercial and Development Officer at the Anglo-Mexican Foundation. Our oldest Cambridge center here in Mexico. All my friends and colleagues come from Cambridge centers, right? Authorized Cambridge exam centers. We also have Tere Gonzalez.
Hello.
With us here today, and she's Director of Studies for International House Mexico. And Xochitl Arbizu, who's Director Operations at Creative Solutions in English Language Teaching.
Hello.
As I said, thank you very much, all of you, for being here. I'm going to have a little bit of help for people to help me with the questions that we have here. I seem to have lost. Don't worry, we shall overcome. Just to tell you, we have called this session yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about professional development, continuous professional development. Because we had Ricardo, and by the way, Ricardo, you probably started a war with Spain because of your reference to how they speak Spanish, right? But let's talk about peace, and let's talk about continuous professional development, okay? I would like to start with a quote, and I've always said this is, when I read these years ago, these became one of my personal favorite quotes of all times. Right? And it's by Penny she's written many books, but there was one called A Course in English Language Teaching, where she talks about the difference between teachers who have been teaching for 20 years. And she says, you may divide them into two different groups. The ones who became teachers and started teaching and have been going on at it exactly the same. So those are teachers with 1 year experience done for 20 years, exactly the same. But there are teachers who have really changed because they have developed professionally, because they have been continuing to evolve as teachers, to develop as teachers. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. Okay, do you like that quote?
It's a great quote.
Beautiful. I think it really is very nice. And I think it puts us in the mood for this, right? So let's start. And as I said, you all work at Cambridge exam centers, and exam centers that are also Cambridge teaching qualification centers, right? So you help colleagues who want to develop professionally. And I think that's a wonderful thing to do, okay? Think about your day-to-day experience, all right? You're there at your Cambridge Exam Center. Sometimes I know you have to go somewhere else, right? But your day-to-day experience, what have you seen here in Mexico regarding the opportunities that Cambridge has created for colleagues who want to keep on developing professionally? Shall we start with you, Tere, please?
Yes, thank you. Of course. It's always very interesting to see and to meet teachers with different backgrounds. For many years, as you must all know, in Mexico, teachers were recognized by their students and by the institutions where they used to work or where they work, but not necessarily because of the qualifications that they had. So many of us, many people started teaching English just because they could speak the language.
Yeah.
And of course, you could do it in a very empirical way, but most recently, because of what the CEP has been doing and because of technology and because of Mexico aiming at becoming a more competitive country in the world, teaching qualifications have gained lots of importance. And precisely it's because of Cambridge that many of us have been trained and qualified and then received opportunities to not only teach in better places, in more schools, in better positions in Mexico, but also abroad. So I think there's a huge difference that all over the years Cambridge has done with the qualifications that we have access to as English teachers.
Thank you very much. Niall.
Okay, thank you. I think that I would like to talk a little bit about what happens in our daily life at the Anglo, because when we're looking to hire new teachers, for example, we look for things on teachers' curriculums, such as the Cambridge qualifications for teachers, no? And once a teacher is actually working for us, we hope that the teacher wants actually to look, actually to develop their teaching practice, because we don't want teachers really to stay as they are when they come into the Anglo. We want them actually to develop, to become better teachers and to start actually reflecting on their practice. And I think these qualifications are a good opportunity for that with Cambridge. And we also see it, of course, when we go out and visit preparation centres for examinations. The schools are also very interested in developing their own teachers, and we often talk to them about Cambridge qualifications for teachers, and I think they're excellent.
Thank you. Sachi, how about Creative Solutions, your experience?
I do think that teaching is a labor of love. If you really continue to work as a teacher for a long time, it is because you love it, because this is this thrill, this experience that runs through your veins saying, this is what I love doing. So I do believe that developing has to do with this love for the profession, the love that you have for your students, and the respect that you have for them. The fact that you want to become better, the fact that you want to be trained, and the fact that you want to give them your best has to do with this decision you made to be there for them, to support them. And what we noticed while watching the videos some moments ago is that most of the students who are congratulating their teachers do it because they see the love and the passion that their teachers have for their profession, the respect they have for them. And just being a better teacher and committing to development has to do with that, with the willingness to help help your learners be better and be who they are in a foreign language. Many years ago, I heard Tony Wright saying what it is to be bilingual, and being bilingual is being you in a foreign language. So what we want to do is to help them be who they are, to be themselves by being there and supporting them. So I think that what Cambridge does is to empower people to be who they are. And there is no better thing that we can do as human beings.
Thank you. I think you would all agree. You've been talking about becoming better, opening doors, etc. Love. I remember when I said to my mom I wanted to become an English teacher, right? She said, okay, you have to realize you're doing this because and I said, I love teaching, right? I love learning English. So now I want to teach people to learn English, right? And she said, you realize this is probably not a way to get rich. And I said, yes, I want things from my heart. I want things from my soul, not necessarily for my pocket. And I think you all agree with that, right? Yes? Or anybody who's become a terribly rich teacher here?
Not really.
Okay. So let's talk about going back to being serious, right? How about Mexico specifically? You've been mentioning that it's great that we have the Cambridge teaching qualifications to support teachers, right? And it's great to see, some of you have mentioned that institutions, right, or sometimes government organizations, etc., want to support teachers, want to help them continue their continuous professional development. How have you seen this in your experience here in Mexico? How has it helped, benefited Mexico when it comes to the education of teachers? Niall, can we start with you this time?
Well, I think on this question, we should say that they enable teachers actually to become better teachers. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's really what we all want for English language teaching in Mexico to improve, no? Because if the teaching improves, then obviously our students will obviously get much better and have a much better level of English than they do at the moment. Actually, regarding government, you mentioned, there has been a lot of use of Cambridge English qualifications at that level too, especially with the TKT, and that is something which is actually still happening, which is also an enabler for the teachers actually to get onto a ladder of learning for the future, no?
Sachin, I remember, for example, going to a couple of sessions administered by your center, and it was specifically about TKT. What have you seen? How has, for example, TKT helped educators here in Mexico, ELT professionals?
Well, I think a lot, Rosalia, because for starters, when they tell you that you have to go for a certificate, you have to get a TKT, sometimes people might be a bit at a discomfort, might be unhappy because I have to study, I have to prepare, I have to practice, I have to do many things. But then nobody really tells you that when you are preparing yourself, you will be receive an impact not only from the perspective of cognition. Of course, you are learning new words, you are learning terms, you are learning how to do things in the real world with your students, but nobody really tells you that you are going to improve as a human being, and that this is really what will be the most important part. I remember that, for example, when learning about multiple intelligences, for example, you get to understand your husband better. And instead of having these arguments with them, well, you get to connect better with people because you become a better human being. So I think that all these, what has happened in Mexico due to TKT and due to the programs that have to do with professional development, it makes you feel that as a teacher, you are empowered, that your colleagues from other subjects respect you, because it is not only the English teacher, but a teacher who's a very well-prepared teacher, who has a certificate, who has international certificates that back you up. And this, of course, helps you very much from the perspective of face validity, what they feel about the teacher of English. But I think it's much more, you get to learn how to be much more resilient, because you know that things do not go well every moment, every time. And there are many things that you learn from the affective, from the social, of course, from the cognitive perspective. So I think this is essential.
Very nice. Billy, you started talking about how years ago, English teachers were regarded as maybe people who were not really well prepared. And now thinking about continuous professional development and how the practice of continuous professional development can benefit teachers, what do you think?
It's very interesting, and thank you for asking me this question in particular, because at International House, we get to talk to many teachers and teachers in different institutions. And one of the benefits of having continuous professional development qualifications like the Cambridge ones give the possibility to coordinators or directors or school owners to know how well their teachers are trained, and to also establish standards that are a seal of quality. This is one of the biggest benefits. You have a Cambridge certificate, and you're going to be able to teach, and you have learned from the best, and you also have studied and learned with most innovative methods and trends. So when you're applying for a job as a teacher, you have your Cambridge certificates, you arrive in the job interview very confident, and you know that you have learned and you are capable of doing what you're going to be asked to do as an English teacher, because you have principles, you have ethics, you know about teaching, not only because somebody told you, like what Ricardo was telling us, well, this is what you have to do in the class. Okay, now you talk about this. No, it's a completely different experience. And certainly what Chitil said about becoming a better person, this is exactly what happens when you are trained. And this is exactly what happens when you start looking into this process of reflection, because part of being a teacher is also assuming the responsibility that you are going to touch people's lives, and you have to do it in the best possible way. You will probably, and most likely, will not see the result right away, like with other professionals. But in the future, people are going to be better people, better humans, because of what you taught them. And I think that's a huge privilege, but also it comes with a big responsibility, like all superpowers.
Yes, definitely, with all powers, right? How about, because we are educators, so we have colleagues, as I said, and that is great. And it's like me, I am really blessed that I have you as colleagues, as friends, because we can talk about different things. Niall and I, for example, share the same university that we chose to work towards our masters, right? Exeter, right? I took a couple of courses there. I'm not really, I don't really know a lot about it, but I know that you're now working towards a PhD. So talk about continuing your professional development, right? So think about colleagues, right? And their professional development. Have you heard any stories? Have you actually witnessed something regarding their own professional development that has really sort of attracted your attention, or you said, oh, that's interesting, or really created a wow moment, for example? Would you like to start now?
Yes, I do remember a colleague of ours, Victor Montejo. This teacher is a teacher who works there in Acapulco, well, near Acapulco, in a town that is near Acapulco. And the program where he was studying implied that we had to go and observe him teaching his students. And we had to go to this town far away from Acapulco, and just he used to come and pick us up to take us to observe him, and while driving and telling us all what he had prepared and what he had planned, he was showing the materials and saying that the students cannot afford, the school cannot afford the materials, but I bought this and I colored and it was this huge man who was telling you that he had colored things for children this age, primary school kids. And then getting there was not easy. In addition to getting there and having lots of problems getting there, we had to go down the hill, up the hill 20 million zillion times. I remember that I was wearing high heels, and he would literally take my hand and help me go through the hill and down the hill. But getting there was very interesting, because the moment when I saw the faces of the children that saw him get there, how they said, "Teacher," and they would run to him and just you could really say that the impact that he had had on the students and how much the students were prepared to learn the language. They would speak to him in English at all times. He would tell him instructions and ask them to do things. Yes, teacher, and they would be all the time doing this kind of things. And now it's great for me to say that he not only is someone who has been trained from the methodological part, but also in terms of language, he is a C1 teacher now, and he is now the trainer of many other teachers in Guerrero. And this is fantastic because people like him deserve to be followed by other teachers. He's a fantastic leader.
That is great. Tere, I'm sure you were already thinking of somebody. You don't have to mention the name if you don't want to, but if it's something nice, I do invite you to mention the name, right? So who did you think of? Who came to mind?
Yes, I was thinking about this teacher. Her name is Nina. And when I was reading Penier's quote, I was talking to a couple of teachers about it and trying to get some ideas on how they, understand and envision their own development process. And she's a very good teacher. She's fantastic. Her students absolutely love her. And then very humbly, she raised her hand and said, you know what, Tere, I was one of those teachers who had been doing the same thing for many years until I took a Cambridge certification course. And it really opened my eyes about something that I already love, which is teaching, and of something that is really, really important that you've been telling us, and many other teachers and tutors and directors I've worked with have been telling us, listen to your students, pay attention to what they say, pay attention to what they need. But it is only because of this course that I took that I realized and I understood the importance of differentiation and the importance of becoming an eclectic teacher who's able to listen to the students' needs and then has a repertoire of methods and techniques and is able to choose what's right for the students. So after having all these many years of experience, it was that wow moment. It was that very interesting process of observing myself actually listening to students and responding the way they would be best taught, so that they were also successful. And you see, when somebody's teaching for many years and tells you, I had this wow moment in this course, then I was having my wow moment as well, because I wasn't expecting her to tell me very, very nicely. I was one of those, but now I am on the other side, and I can tell you, I can share, and I'm very, very happy. And then she did more certifications, and now she's on the way to become a teacher trainer. And it's a very successful story because she realized how not only she likes teaching English, but also helping other people become English teachers.
That is a really lovely story. Niall, any names, any experiences, any wow moments?
Okay, not exactly a colleague. I'd like to talk about my wife, who incidentally I met in a talk that was being given by Rosalia at the Anglo. Why do I want to talk about my wife?
I remember that talk, yeah.
Why do I want to talk about my wife? Because she actually took the decision to take the Delta Module 2. It probably wasn't the right decision at that time. She probably wasn't ready, and she suffered a little bit on that course. Yeah.
Don't we all suffer a little bit during Delta?
Ended up suffering a lot.
Okay.
So she actually left the course, and she thought about it, and she reflected on it for around maybe a year, and then she signed up again. So obviously I wanted to talk about this because, I saw all the emotions, the stress, but also the learning that was taking place. And the fact that I always say that the Delta Module 2 is basically like Top Gun. Yeah, you have to get there with a pretty good level as a teacher, and you still want to improve. So it's kind of an advert for Delta Module 2 too, but you've got to be ready. You have to know when you're ready for development. And obviously the second time I saw all the thrills of the written feedback from tutors, which was excellent, and all the good stuff that was coming her way on behalf of her tutors. And she really learned the second time round. So I think the story here is that, if at first you don't succeed, you have to go for Delta again, because it it is a really like respected and looked upon as being a real high-level course, the whole of the Delta. I'm just referring to Delta Module 2 because it talks about the teaching practice and you're observed and feedback. A lot of writing. I think the writing was mentioned here previously. That's also continuously a theme here in Mexico, no? For students and also for teachers. You know, let's actually focus on writing. But I just wanted to mention my wife, I get Wendelin Tostado. She battled through it the first time and she didn't succeed, but the second time she did. And that was a wow moment for me. Super proud. And she doesn't have to go through that again, but she's so proud of herself. Thanks, Rosalie.
Is it your anniversary, your wedding anniversary by any chance? Did you just have a fight or want to win some brownie points or?
Not at all, not at all. It's just, I think it's a nice little story because
No, it is.
It is actually tough, your own development, and it's actually good to see someone who, you know, kind of failed, but kind of succeeded too.
Right, and I think both Tere and Sotil can tell some stories when you yourselves were taking Delta, right? Yes, would you like to hear a couple of those stories very quickly? Yes, be brave. Just.
Well, it was long time ago, but I do remember it was a fantastic experience because you really get to focus. You really move from the scenario of you as a teacher, and you move to the scenario of the students themselves. And I think that one of the most valuable lessons that I learned at that time was to pay attention to the students, to observe them, to try to identify who they were, what ticked, what make them tick, what make them feel interested in the language. But also, I think the most important word that I learned there was authenticity. Try to teach being authentic or enhancing authenticity. And when you reflect upon this, it is very, very common that people would tell you, so what you have to do is to use authentic materials. And you say, yes, that could be fantastic, but it is not what it means. What it means, and I think this is the whole idea behind what Cambridge does, both in certifications and professional development, is helping people do things they are likely to do in the real world, in the real life. What you want to do is to help them understand the importance of language as the lingua franca, as the language that you're going to use in order to do all things in life. So for me, it was very tough, very difficult. I would hate having to write the assignments. And every time I had to write them, I would cry. And just being a last minuter myself, I would cry and cry and cry. But then when I had them done, I felt so happy, so proud. And there were many fantastic things that I learned there.
I could cry and cry when I think about having to mark those assignments. But Tere, how about your experience?
About Delta experience. Number one is very much like your wife. I tried Delta once and then didn't complete it, failed. And because I was pregnant and I got married, and 20 years later, I tried it again and I did it. And it was a fantastic experience indeed. But, I was like during the second week in Delta Module 2, and I was complaining to one of the persons that works with us in International House. And I said, how are you there to make me go through this? It's so difficult and it's so challenging, and you're really, really making me struggle. And you're telling me this is because you want us to become better teachers. But you know what? With the Delta, you should also have some therapy coming along, because you want us to deconstruct ourselves as teachers and then reconstruct. And I think that was a very, very powerful experience, not only in terms of teaching skills development, but also personally. And that comes with the second part of the story I want to share with you. It is precisely during this same second experience in my Delta that I had a really nice moment when one of my tutors told me, you know what, Tere, your lesson was very well done, very well developed, your essay is very well written, and I liked it. But you know what really struck me as, this is a really good teacher, this is a really good lesson, that you were able to show how much you care about your students. And probably this is a compliment I'm going to tell you. You're probably one of the most humanistic teachers, or the most humanistic teacher I ever have observed. And of course, I was super happy in that moment, but it was because I learned through Delta to listen to our students and to see what their needs were. And I think nowadays, in the world that we're living after a pandemic, teachers need to become even more humanistic, and teachers need to be able to understand students' emotions and to understand what students are going through every day. Not to give them therapy, of course, but to be able to teach them, and so that you are more empathetic and you know what students require so that they can better learn.
Yeah, and that reminds me, Aldo, where are you? We do have to talk about artificial intelligence and why I don't think it can replace teachers, educators, because yeah, there's different things, but I think we've still got a few minutes, right? So I would like to say, and thinking, looking at Hilda, who told us about IATEFL and her experience there with the poster, right, that you created for the IATEFL conference. I remember the first time I went to this IATEFL conference, which is like the big TEFL conference in England, right? And I remember talking about the fact that we had mentioned our masters, you working towards a PhD, the Delta course, etc. And let's face it, we're talking about things that require effort. They require financial effort, right? And they require a lot of work and a lot of time, and sometimes getting away from our families. Remember those days? But sometimes it can be just like going to a conference, a 2 or 3 day conference, doing something in the summer. I always say the summer is a good time for our colleagues, for everybody, for ourselves, right? To think about what we can do for our professional development. So let's try and think about things that we enjoy doing that we know can have a very positive effect on our continuous professional development. And can I also challenge you to try and use the word, so something not very expensive, something that doesn't take like a year, right? Something that is not going to get you or your husband or your wife to start seriously thinking about divorce, right? But something that can be cheap and fun. Professional development. Ooh, Nayal is saying so. Yes.
Well, I think a very, very cheap way to get better as a teacher is to go and observe colleagues. Just talk to them and tell them, can I come? Can I observe your lesson? Because you get to see how they dare to do things you wouldn't have there to do. And then when you see them there, you say, this is great. This is fantastic. Can I take this away from you? Can I steal this idea from you? And I think this is the best way to do things. And while you are not on the spotlight, while you're observing someone else, it also gives you a great opportunity to sit down and look at the students, how they react to what the teacher says, how they react to their words, to their attitudes, to their actions, etc. So you get to learn lots of things from your colleagues and lots of things from the learners, things that you can bring into your own scenario. So I think it's cheap and fantastic.
Yes, and our first group of colleagues, for example, we had Ruben and Ale and Aldo. They were talking about peer observations as part of training, right? But they can also be part of professional development. So wonderful. I'm looking at you two now.
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, I'm not actually in the classroom, so I've been trying to think about some cheap and viable options that I do that could transfer to teachers too. I've been doing some short courses. I don't want to go into them because they're quite expensive sometimes, but I think it's a good idea to take, for example, 5 minutes every now and then, and take that time for yourself and go and like basically stand outside by some plants and just have a think. Now have a think about what you've just done. If it was a meeting, if it was a class, if it was a conversation you've had with a colleague, just really think about it. We all like spend a lot of time these days saying, I'm going to eat quickly. You know, I'm going to the bathroom quickly. If you translate it into Spanish, you'll remember you say it every single day. Let's actually just take a few moments actually to reflect on what we're doing. You know, is it really doing what I want it to do? Am I really behaving in the way that I wanted to in that class, in that meeting, or not? That's one thing I do, which I would really recommend. Apart from that, actually to read around. Yeah. I was actually talking to Rosalia earlier, and actually to read things that you like. Yeah. Maybe read about teaching. If you're into management, if you're coordinators, read about that, but read around it. You know, there's a lot of books available, not necessarily, you know, how to negotiate something, but actually read about the life of, I don't know, for example, Martin Luther King, read about the life of, for example, Gandhi.
David Attenborough.
David Attenborough, yeah. And read about people who you can learn from to become a better person. If that better person's in the classroom, if that better person is in the school, in the staff room, if that better person's in the meeting, listening to other people and learning from them at the same time. Yeah, that would be my advice.
That's very nice. Goody.
I'm going to take a little bit of what Sachitel said and what Niall said, and I'm going to tell you what we're doing. And it's proven to be very effective, but also no cost for English directors or coordinators. We have something called, I bet you have them every month, you know, you're not so happy about these Consejo Técnico meetings, no? Well, imagine we have them in IH every Friday. So we have our academic Fridays. And then teachers go like, oh, really? Do we have to meet? Are we going to talk about students? Are we going to talk about those classes from hell we don't like? And I say, yes, we're going to talk about those. But, you know, we're going to have a different approach. This time, I'm going to give you, because I've been hearing over the week, teachers telling me, you know what, Tere, this student is doing this and that. And you know what, in this company, this is happening. So I take some of those cases and I put them into nice little chunks for everybody to read. And then in the meeting, which is something that I learned in the master's, we study these cases as case studies, small case studies, and we make groups and teachers discuss and give each other feedback and then share. They share, in my experience, this is what I've done. And I remember I had that student in like 3 levels before, or I remember I was teaching for that same class and this is what worked for me. So I think there's a lot of power in sharing, and teachers have so many resources. Teachers are so talented, but sometimes being a teacher is a lonely position. You're in front of your class by yourselves, and it feels like you're by yourself, but you're not. I bet in your schools, you all have a lot of teachers that experience the same, good and bad. And also from what Niall said, after these sharing moments of small, very, very little case studies, other teachers also suggested, like more senior teachers, teachers who have taken the Delta, teachers who have done master's degree, recommend books to read, recommend little articles that we find in different journals and publications. And we have a shared space. You can name it. It's a blog, or it's a Drive, or it's a Dropbox, whatever you want to organize for your school. And then there are some resources there that you share with your teacher. So whenever this happens to you, you can go there, you can bring your case to the little Friday meeting and discuss it among all of us. We're going to find a solution for your students and for your classes, and then you're not going to feel alone. So it's worked very well.
It's very nice. Very good food for thought, right? And as Niall was saying, it's in a way like, and very interesting, because if you think about, maybe I'm hungry, but I was thinking some of you said deconstructing teaching, right? So it's like deconstructing salads, right? And then not going for the fast thing. So, and we've heard about no fast food, but slow food. Did you have a food reference? I think you're the only one who didn't say a food. You're not hungry.
No,
okay.
The only thing I'm saying is never fast. No.
Never fast. No, okay, good. But it has to be something you enjoy. But if you think about, as I said, I used to say, for example, when my son, my son, and I think you've all met my son, Cricket, who's bilingual, right? So because of what I did, and because I had finished my master's, etc., and I said, okay, I'm going to make this work, right? And I'm proud to say that I made it work, right? However, I never managed to teach or encourage my husband, right? Yes, I know you're listening to this, Jose Luis, but the whole world knows by now, right? But I remember saying to my son when he was very young, what are you doing? You're just watching television. And I remember saying, because it was something I was watching, usually a film, something sci-fi, or maybe rom-com, whatever, right? And I was saying, I'm practicing my English, right? Because I have an obligation. I am an ELT practitioner, so I have to practice my English needs to get better and better all the time, right? And it was, I remember one trip we had coming from a conference talking about guilty pleasures, right? Is there some sort of guilty pleasure that you see really helping you with your professional development as ELT practitioners? Not just any guilty pleasure. Let's get serious here, right? Niall, I can see you thinking. Yes.
You mean guilty pleasures that make you a better teacher?
I knew she was going to bring the tricky questions.
Okay, I went there. So you only have like 30 seconds, please.
I think that the guilty pleasure is to basically look after yourself. And if you look after yourself, then you're going to be a better person, a better teacher, a better manager, and also think and care about others.
Good. Another guilty pleasure. 30 seconds.
Watch series from all over the world. You know, we teach companies as well, and many of our executive students ask us, teacher, how can you help me understand accents from different parts of the world? So, of course, we have now lots of television options, watch series from different parts of the world, so that you as teachers get accustomed to different accents. And you can always show your students those series in class, and you can help them become better learners because they can understand the Englishes of the world.
We'll finish with you, Sachit. What do you think?
I don't have a guilty pleasure because...
Oh, come on! We've shared ours.
Listen to music, but do it naked in such a way. It's guilty. I mean, it's a pleasure or something like that.
Hear that today, right? That's a great thing. That is a great thing. Me. Okay, I'm trying to understand sign language here, failing miserably, as you can see, right? So if this is either because we need to stop now, and this is them saying, my colleagues, stop, Rosalia, stop, before you start. So shall we stop now? No, we can go on. What do you think? Should we go on? Something happened to my mic. Okay, and nobody can hear me. All these wonderful things I've been saying and nobody heard. And you didn't say anything. Shame on you, right? So, but the wonderful thing is that they share their ideas, and I'm sure you all have great ideas. And don't worry, we're not going to talk about the group or the class from hell, right? Because we've had them, but it's going to be Teachers' Day here in Mexico. Remember, we celebrate on May the 15th. Why are we doing this on May the 11th, Ricardo? Do you remember? Because we said if it's May the 15th, teachers should be having fun. Teachers shouldn't work on Teachers' Day, right? If I were president of the world, that would be my first decree, right? Teachers, you don't have to work on May the 15th, right? But it is May the 11th, and this is how we say you chose to become, probably just like we did, we chose to become teachers because there was something really getting into our heart about helping other people, right? We heard from Christian, who told us about how English helped him open doors to different things, and going to Africa, and because he cannot speak Swahili, right? You started communicating in English there, right? And we heard about all the different things. And it's about how we sometimes become the best possible example for our learners, right? And how we believe in getting better and better all the time. And that's why I think we decided we wanted to talk about professional development. Well, you didn't actually decide. I invited you. We're brutally honest here, right? But thank you. And now we are going to have some wow moments.
Hello everybody, my name is Andrea Vasquez and I'm currently an English teacher here at Colegio Cumbres, Chihuahua. When I was around 6 years old, I got the opportunity to learn a second language. I remember that it was a dream for me because watching my teachers and classmates that they already knew a lot, I was like, okay, I want to have that. But of course I was so young, so I couldn't. So I decided to look for majors instead of courses.
so that when I was an adult, I could start challenging myself a little bit more. And when I entered my major, it was as if I had entered a whole new world. I actually remember having one of my first classmates. I helped her with some improvement in her skills, and she needed to practice for a final presentation, a very important one. And when that final moment came, I asked her, "Hey, how it went? Did you feel okay?" And she actually thanked me. She said that because of me, she came out of her comfort zone. So in that moment, I, of course, had an epiphany. I stopped and I looked back, and I wasn't that little girl anymore that felt frustrated because she wanted to learn. So now I can carry that knowledge, and hopefully I can inspire someone else just as someone else did with me. Happy Teachers Day to you all. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Arturo Alberto Hernandez Medina, and I'm from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. I'm very pleased to share my experience with you. And the first thing I'd like to say is that my first teaching experience was with a textbook made by Cambridge University Press. I very clearly remember teaching with Coast to Coast, and this was many years ago, probably over 25 or 28 by now, at a local government school for adults. And I also remember my first formal teaching experience, which was also with a book published by Cambridge University Press, which you may already know, which is Interchange. I remember it was the second edition, maybe. Then I had the pleasure to meet the author, Jack C. Richards, at dinner I was invited to here in Guadalajara at this hotel Quinta Real. It was wonderful for me to meet someone like Jack C. Richards in person, and I owe it to Cambridge University Press for inviting me. And finally, I would like to share also that my first big community project was also with a textbook that I had already used, which is Interchange. And this was a very satisfying experience. I was responsible for coordinating this community project, and I was quite pleased to see that Interchange has been, and I would imagine it always been, my book of reference when it comes to teaching. So I just wanted to share these few words with you, and I hope that you have a very wonderful Teachers' Day.
Hello everyone, my name is Juliana Correa and I am the Commercial Attaché here at the British Embassy in Mexico City. I am here to congratulate you on your very special day, so happy Teachers' Day. After our parents, teachers inculcate values and wisdom in our lives. They play an important role in every student's lives, and as words are not enough to express our gratitude to our favorite teachers, we dedicate the 15th of May to all those wonderful teachers who have inspired us through life, both mastering a language but also helping us navigate life. Now, in my case, I would like to express my gratitude to a teacher in particular. I learned a lot of things from this teacher. He really opened my eyes to a world of opportunities, including how to express myself and how to communicate effectively with others. And because English is the language of global business, it has played a pivotal role in my career and my personal growth. On a lighter note, my teacher told me many stories that made me laugh and helped me remember, giving me an appreciation of the British sense of humor, usually understated and self-deprecating. The English language has also enabled me to build meaningful relationships with my colleagues and partners in the UK and in the rest of the world. As a British commercial attaché for Mexico, I have the privilege of promoting bilateral trade and investment between our two countries, and English has been a crucial tool in my efforts to bridge both the cultural and the linguistic gap. My case is just one among thousands that perfectly exemplify where English can take you and how you can become what you want to be by learning this wonderful language with the help of Cambridge and your English teacher. So in this very special day, let us remember all of our favorite English teachers and send them a message for playing such an important role in our education. Now I wish you all a very, very happy Teachers' Day.
Hi, my name is Patricia del Carmen Ordaz Luna. I'm an English teacher at Colegio Americano de Tabasco. When I was a teenager, I had a teacher who was very kind and very helpful. She was always trying her best for her students, and one day I decided that I wanted to be like her, and I think I am. A wow moment that I remember, it was one day my students and I were learning a new lesson, vocabulary lesson. We were practicing some new phrases, and one of those phrases was open a can of worms. So one of my students was making noise, and he was standing and he was laughing and he was making lots of things, and I said, "Oh, my dear student, I'm going to call your parents and tell them how you're behaving." And he said, "Oh, no, teacher, why do you want to open a can of worms?" And it was hilarious. We didn't know if laughing or being mad or congratulating him, but it was amazing. So I know I'm doing a very good job, and I wanted to continue doing that. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So I started learning English basically because I was sent, basically because my mum and my dad decided that English would be really important for my future and open doors. So both my sister and I went to private language schools to take lessons, and I remember loving it because for me it was like a little game, you know, just becoming somebody else and speaking with a weird pronunciation, and I loved it with a passion ever since. So there was a teacher when I was a teenager in my language school, and she was young and very dynamic and very creative, and she made us work in pairs and play and role play and develop creative projects, and she really inspired me that's when I actually decided that I wanted to become a teacher, to be more like her. Her name was Claudia. So when I became a teacher, I actually started teaching before I finished teacher, which is the norm in Argentina. You know, you finish your language school and you start teaching little children and things like that. So I started teaching, and at the time I thought I love doing this and I want to do it for my whole life. So I was in a language school in Buenos Aires working with children and teenagers that prefer teenagers. And then I discovered as well that I really liked methodology. So I really wanted to know much more about how learners learn, and I felt I wanted to work with teachers as well. So very early on I decided that I wanted to become a teacher of teachers as well. So I came to the UK, I did a course, etc. And then I started teaching in different contexts like business English, the teacher training college, and then I moved to the UK because I married an Englishman. And in a way that was, interestingly, that was a little bit like starting again, because when you move to a new country, sometimes it's difficult for others to understand what your background is, you know. But as soon as I did a couple of courses that everybody understood my qualifications, I started getting jobs that I really wanted to get. So I also did teacher training here. Then I moved on to teaching teacher trainers. Then I started attending conferences, and I thought, well, you know, I could speak at this conference, so I did. And increasingly I was asked to go to this country and that country to teach this group of teachers or to speak at a conference. So suddenly my career took like an international, a crazy, beautiful international level. And then I started writing, and I wrote materials for teachers. So right now I'm in a place where I have a lot of different activities. I do a lot of different things. So I'm an advisor. I still work for my school as head of education, but I also do bits and pieces freelance. As I said, I'm writing a book for teachers and for teacher trainers, actually. So if I look back and I think about who I was and what I wanted, I think reality actually was much more interesting than what I thought. I would never have thought that being a teacher of English would enable me to work internationally. If I tell you the countries where I've been, it's just crazy. I never would have imagined that I would, for example, Mexico. I've been to Mexico like 4 times for work. Saudi Arabia, Albania, Spain, Portugal, all sorts, different Italy, different countries, and that's all because of my, a seed that started when I thought I want to be a teacher of English. Feliz día a todos los maestros. You do an amazing job. Keep your passion and keep your love for what you do. Un beso a todas y a todos.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, it was not my teaching battery that was dying. It was actually the mic battery. So I'm still here. Very happy to see you all here. All the people who are following us on Facebook, on Instagram. And I know you want to say things about Facebook and Instagram right now, but I think we should do this again next year.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I hope you all had fun. Did you have fun?
That was a very quiet yes. Did you like it?
Okay, all right, okay. Yes, no, definitely. I really had a lot of fun. It was a pleasure to have you all here over there. And it was a pleasure to share the microphone with you, Rosalia. We should be doing this next year or even sooner.
Totally agree.
Now, before we go, we would ask you to please, well, there are a few things like some announcements we have. One of them is please follow us in our Facebook page. That's at Enseñando Inglés con Cambridge. Also, we also have at Cambridge English Mexico CECA, right? That's for Central America and the Caribbean, because this was not only for Mexico.
It wasn't, not just for Mexico, because we went to lots of other countries, for example, that they also celebrate Teachers' Day on May the 15th, like in Colombia, in other countries as well, right? So hello to everyone there. Great to have you here with us.
Right.
And we have a free newsletter for colleagues, for teachers. So you're going to get the link. Please subscribe. I'm sure you will really enjoy it.
And absolutely. And we would also ask them, did you like the videos that you saw? Well, we have many more videos, and they are in our social media, in Facebook, in Instagram, so you would be able to see them all. If you didn't see your video played today, don't worry. It will be played in our social media as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how would they receive the links and all notifications and everything that is about the diploma for participation?
Okay, I will tell you that. But before that, can we thank some very, very nice colleagues who were here helping us with the communication? So can we say Fiona, Alison, Brad, Medardo, Idolina, thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts, right? And all the links and all the references and where you can watch all the videos, there's going to be an email and you're going to get all the links there, okay?
And of course, thank you to our participants here today, our guests. So we really want to thank you for being here, bearing with us for 3-4 hours, because they arrived early, but I think we had a great time with you. Thank you very much also for being here.
Constancias de participación, information like that, where you can watch the recording, right? Some surprises that we have worked on to share with you. And we're going to finish today this event for you, for all teachers, ELT practitioners, educators. We have two very special videos from two very special colleagues, and we would like to share them with you, right?
And this is where we say goodbye, Rosalia. Thank you very much.
I think it's not goodbye. I think it's let's meet again next year, shall we? Yes, good. So let's go to those two videos, please. And thank you very much once again. So 2 videos now.
Hello teachers, how are you? I'm Idolina Camargo. I'm an academic consultant, a senior academic consultant for Cambridge. And I want to tell you just a little bit of my story, of my life story. The wow moments that have happened to me in my life. This is what I was asked to talk about, but let me tell you that those wow moments happen every single day. Every time that I talk to a teacher, every time that I have a session, and in that session, teachers are satisfied, and when they leave the session and they know something that they didn't know, that for me is a wow moment, a great moment. Every WhatsApp that I receive, that I get, thanking me or saying that they liked my talk because they learned something that they didn't know how to do. They learned something that is going to help them very much be a better teacher. That for me is a wow moment. And knowing that I couldn't have done anything better in my life, and feeling so satisfied and so grateful with each and every single one of you for everything that you have given me, for everything that I have learned from you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, okay? And I congratulate you on your day. Thank you very much, teachers.
Hi, my name is Marianne. I'm currently working at Cambridge University Press and Assessment. I've been an English teacher and academic coordinator for 22 years. What I love about my profession is that I not only get to teach English, but I also teach life competences and values during my lessons that will enable my students to get more opportunities and have a better life. In 2008, I took the Cambridge TKT exam that allowed me to obtain a 1-year full scholarship to study in China, where I taught English to Asian students. Nowadays, I teach English online to students from Japan, Taiwan, China, and South Korea. Learning and teaching English has given me the opportunity to make changes worldwide.